Hello, friends. Welcome back to the Kuderna Podcast. I'm Bryan Kuderna. So, if you're a fan of the show Shark Tank, you're probably already familiar with today's guest, but let me give you a quick background, anyways. Rob Neuner is the founder of Boost Oxygen, a company that he founded in 2007 and was soon named by Inc. magazine as one of the world's 500 fastest growing companies. He was invited to Shark Tank in 2019, where he made a deal with Kevin O'Leary, aka Mr. Wonderful. Since that time, Boost has become available in over 20,000 retail stores, is a top-selling health product on Amazon, and can be found in over 50 different countries. You may have seen his brand make cameos in everywhere from The Simpsons to The Kardashians and appearing on NHL and NFL sidelines. Rob and I had quite a bit to talk about. We're both Jersey natives. The city of Prague in Czech Republic played a big role in both of our lives. It's where I studied abroad and discovered Europe. Or maybe didn't discover Europe, but it's where I fell in love with Europe. And it's also the city where Rob started his beer importing and distribution company and eventually found the idea for Boost Oxygen. So in this episode, we cover everything from starting companies, scaling companies, and selling companies, and all ends of business management from engineering to marketing, and most of all, how to have lots of fun while doing it. So I got to remind everybody, please don't forget to subscribe and leave a review wherever you're listening or watching today's episode. And without further ado, enjoy the show. Rob, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Bryan. Pleased to be here.
Yeah, thank you very much for coming. And this is cool. I think it's actually the first guest I've had on the show that was on Shark Tank, which we all hear so much about. So I got to ask right out the gates, who's the coolest shark?
I got to say Kevin O'Leary because he bought into our company, but they were all really cool. It was we were up there for an hour. You present for an hour. They shortened it down to about 7 minutes. But the whole process was great. ABC, Sony was great to us. And Lori was really nice. Mark Cuban was really nice to us. Barb was a little bit more acerbic, I think, but
Okay.
and Rohan wasn't sort of interested from the get-go. But between Lori, Kevin, and Mark, we had a really good rapport going.
Nice. And I got to be honest, I don't think I caught that particular episode. I do like the show, but I haven't seen it in a while.
No.
When you went in there, I mean, I got to imagine it's kind of nerve-wracking. Like you drop your idea and you see some of the ones where there's just like no response. They're like,
Right.
all 5 or 6 of them are like, thanks, but no thanks.
Yeah.
Did you have a lot of nerves when you got up there?
No, it was a question. They contacted us. We didn't contact them. We didn't audition. They said, "Hey, we've seen your product out in the field. It's really interesting. We think it would be a good idea for you to pitch it to the Sharks." And we had some question about whether or not we wanted to go on, because they can skewer you. They can you can go on, and we had a good business, a profitable business. It was growing nicely, and we thought that going on the show would be great for marketing purposes.
Sure.
So it was good. So we had the question. We debated it internally, but said, let's go for it. It'll be fun. We'll defend our business philosophy, and that's what happened. So when we went out there, Mark Cuban, the Dallas Mavericks already use us.
Okay.
Barbara Corcoran, her husband, used us in Salt Lake City, Park City. Kevin O'Leary knew us from being around in Florida. Lori knew us because we had sold in Bed Bath & Beyond. So all of us, the only person who didn't know us was Rohan. Which is curious because, speaking to Rohan subsequently, he had seen us out in Montana, and used us. And so it was like they already knew about us, which was kind of fun. But yeah, they were very pointed with their questions. They want to know why we were there and were we serious about making a deal. What did we want out of the Sharks other than money? So it was good. It was interesting.
That's very cool. Yeah. So while we're on that topic, I mean, when you guys got up on the stage, what was your ask? I guess what were you looking for, at least financially?
We asked for $1 million for a 5% stake of the company, and it was based on EBITDA and revenue and a multiple of more of revenue than EBITDA. And because again, the oxygen canister market is still, even after 15 years of doing this, is still pretty nascent.
Yeah.
So it's what we thought, and we have scaled since then. And but yeah, they laughed about it when we asked for $1 million. I guess it was kind of a little rich for even their bloods. But then we definitely solidified what we were trying to say, and we backed up with numbers, and then we sort of talked about the brass tacks.
That's pretty cool. So what did you actually settle on? Because I know you went with Mr. Wonderful, right?
Yeah, no, and it was interesting. On the show we settled for $100,000 for a little less than 5% of the company, and
Okay.
it was in terms of a loan. And what we said on the show is like, we don't need the money. We have money. We're financed. We're profitable. What we're looking for is a shark to be a sort of a megaphone for us, to be
Okay.
out there and do commercials for us and do sales, help us with sales calls. And Kevin Lear's like, hey, I'm your guy. And he has been. He's been
Huh.
phenomenal. He's given his time, his expertise. He's really leaned into it, and his people have been great too. So it's been a real win-win
That's
with Mr.
awesome.
Wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, it just seems like as like a fan of the show that they're just making so many deals so quickly, like every week, that I think a lot of viewers say, how involved do they actually get? Is it like they just throw some money at it and kind of do a
Right.
wave and a hello?
And a lot of the deals actually don't consummate. It's the gentleman's agreement, which you agree to on the show isn't necessarily what you agree to after the show, or if you
Hmm.
agree at all. Either the shark or the entrepreneur can walk away afterwards.
Really?
So yeah, so it's not as binding as it would seem. It is, in terms of integrity wise, you want to say, like, listen, my word is my bond. So
Mhm.
that's you want to say, okay, this is what we agreed to. This is what we're going to agree to afterwards, and this was essentially what we did,
Gotcha.
which is fun.
That's really cool. That's
Uh,
fantastic. So if we could kind of hit rewind a little bit, kind of go back to the genesis of this. I know I mentioned in your intro that I guess you had previously been in Prague working in
yeah.
the beer business.
So I went to business school. I went to Fordham Business School. I met a great friend of mine, Peter Blachek, who still
Okay.
actually now works with Boost Oxygen. And we started exporting things. This is around 1992, it's the fall of the Iron Curtain, and Eastern European opened up. They're looking for Western goods. I was right out of business, still in business school, so we sort of fulfilled a need there. That sort of started drying up around 1996. And then we said, okay, let's import something from the Czech Republic, something the Czechs do well. That's
Hmm.
not really in the United States yet. That's price competitive. And I think you said you were in Prague as well, so you know how cheap the beer is over there and how good the
Oh
beer is
yeah.
over there.
Yes.
And so I think we were talking about this over a beer, like, well, what about beer? And so one thing was another. He went out to the breweries across Bohemia and Moravia and
Okay.
found a few ones that were looking for representation in the United States. I set up the company here in terms of sales and marketing, and we just started bringing some Czech beer in, a beer called
That's
Rebel.
awesome.
Actually, we brought in Budvar, which we call Czech Bar, and a beer called Lobkowitz, and yeah, so we had a nice run.
That's awesome. Yeah, when I
Yeah.
was there, it was all about Pilsner Urquell.
Pilsner Urquell, yeah, but Budweiser Budvar is big too. Not
Yeah,
as
yeah,
big
I
as it
did see
used to
that.
be. Yeah,
Yeah.
but Pilsner is awesome. This is still my favorite beer.
Yeah, yeah, they're all very good. And
Yeah,
so like when you started that, you were right out of, was it grad school that
pretty much. Yeah,
when
right out of business school.
okay.
I was working at Bear Stearns at the time,
Okay.
a former investment bank that was sold for $1. And I did enjoy it. I was sort of an entrepreneur at heart. Didn't really like the environment that I was in. So I
Yeah.
decided I wanted something more tangible. So I got into hard goods. And
That's really
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
And what is like that first step? Because I know to a lot of people, like that sounds awesome. Like, hey, this is something I like. I'm passionate about beer, and I want to build a business out of this. Like, what is that first step where your buddy goes over to Prague and you just start, kind of soliciting, like, hey, would you like to expand? Is it that easy? Just a conversation?
Well, it was at the time, because again, the Czech Republic was, well, still Czechoslovakia at the time, but Czech Republic as of 1993,
Mhm.
it's still was a very much of an emerging economy
Mhm.
that was not westernized at all. Didn't have any experience with the West. The companies were bartering if they wanted to have currency to sell to Europe, Western Europe, and the United States. So
Huh.
having that conversation as someone from the United States, just by the fact that we're Americans and had some cash to give. I mean, people were trading I think you probably remember the time, jeans for Skodas for the car. So it was a little bit of a crazy time over in Eastern Europe, and it's totally modernized and westernized now,
Sure.
as you know. But it was a little bit easier approaching companies over in the Czech Republic at the time because they didn't have the experience. Now I think it would be much more difficult.
Yeah, yeah. So you were kind of like the almost first to market, like they saw an American and got
Right,
excited. Yeah,
right.
yeah,
Yeah, we must be rich, right?
yeah, yeah,
So,
exactly.
yeah,
That's really cool. And so you did that for about 10 years that you were
yeah,
importing beer and then kind of just spreading it all over the States?
yeah. So we imported for the first 7 years, and then we here in Connecticut, where I'm domiciled, we had sort of problem distribution, and we were able to get our brands back from the franchise distributors here in Connecticut and start our own distribution company. And by distribution company, I had 2 vans and just servicing the top 200 off-premise accounts, which is 80% of the off-premise business in Connecticut. So
Huh.
we started selling, and from my connections with importing and distributors, we've started distributing Hofbrau, some Brazilian beers, a couple of micro beers as well from Michigan, and developed a little bit of a portfolio.
Hmm.
And that was also, again, it was a small operation but profitable. And we got an offer to buy our brands from a large Miller Coors distributor here in West Haven, and took it. And it was kind of around 2006 to 2007. I'm not sure if you remember, but the micro beers were really coming up and really becoming
Sure.
popular, and the imports were shrinking. So when I received a little bit of a check for my distribution business, I made the decision to also sell my the rights that I had to the importing of the Czech brands as well, and
Okay.
found a company in South Carolina, actually, who was a distributor, an importer, who took them on
Huh.
from there. So yeah, that's
And
kind of I was out in about 3 months.
okay, yeah, so that seems like a pretty quick way to wrap things up. And
Yeah.
were you totally out, or did they keep you on in any capacity?
No, I said I was pretty much totally out,
Huh.
and I had a non-compete for a couple of years, and I remember because we had really good distribution in New York City, especially, and
Okay.
Gristedes, and I went to the city. I went to a Gristedes, and usually we had K-Stacks, and I didn't see my K-Stack, and I called up the guy who bought my brands, and I said, hey, there's a Gristedes on 72nd Street, and they don't have the Rebel anymore. And he goes, Rob, this is not your concern anymore.
Huh.
And I said, yeah, but it's like, well, did you cash the check? And I said, yeah. I said, it's not your concern anymore. And that's what sort
Oh
of hit me.
wow.
Like I was no longer, because I mean, you live and breathe your business, right? And
Yeah.
and I still, every time I go into a supermarket or a bodega, I go right to the beer section. I look at what the competition's doing and the pricing and the trends
Huh.
and things. And so it's still in the blood.
Wow. I imagine that's got to be hard just to kind of one day wake up and walk away from. What did you do next? Did you just kind of like go on a vacation and say, "Hey, I'm going to figure out life,"
Well,
or did you have
kind
a
of.
plan?
That's kind of. So I was looking for the next opportunity. I had no idea what I was going to do. And I had a dinner with a good friend of mine, Mike Minogue, who's also a partner in Boost. And
Mhm.
it was at Keen Steakhouse. I still remember. And he's like, "Well, what are you going to do now?" I was like, "I have no idea." And he said, "Well, what about oxygen cans?" And his father was in worked for Precision Valve, was the vice president of sales at Precision Valve, and was able to help us get started. See the filling companies, the canning companies, the valve companies. And I said to my friend that, well, yeah, I'm in the Czech Republic, and I've seen these canisters of oxygen, use them for hangovers. And he goes, yeah, I've seen them in
Huh.
Germany, because he did a lot of work in Germany. And said, well, let's research this, because we're both athletes as well. We both played football in high
Yep.
school and college, and we would know that football players used to use oxygen a lot.
Yeah, of course.
And so it's like, and no one was really doing it at the time. So we were sort of the first movers in terms of starting up an oxygen canister company here in the United States.
Wow, that's so interesting because it's something I was going to say. The only place I've seen it is in athletics, where they bring over the mask, put it
Right,
on,
right,
kind of catch your breath, and then you're good to go.
right.
But you were actually seeing it to deal with hangovers. That was like the introduction
Yeah,
to it.
so Las
Yeah.
Vegas, those oxygen bars for people for the next morning.
Huh. I always
Every
see the like the IV drips
Yep,
that people get. Yeah,
Those
that's interesting because
with
I
the
never, for whatever reason, I didn't catch the oxygen ones.
yeah, every single casino has one actually, and it's an
Huh.
entrepreneur usually, but people breathe oxygen for 15 to 30 minutes,
Okay.
and they feel better. So it's but the oxygen bars and people who have breathing issues, all hospitals,
Yep.
ambulances carry oxygen, so it's got efficacy
Huh.
there. So we just put it into canisters.
Wow. So was that, I know you said it was like in Vegas and stuff, but was there a, did you have a competitor or was it just kind of in niche places abroad and then
Yeah, no,
you,
there was a bigger competitor, not even a competitor. They called Oxia in Colorado at the time, and there's another small company that's still around that does very little business. But there were few other companies doing it here, sort of on a very 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 small basis, and
okay.
but no one really knew about the market.
So what was it? I guess the logical question would be is if it's already out there and there's a need, maybe people don't recognize it, but what did you and your partner or your buddies do that that made it stick, that kind of made you the key player?
Yeah, so the aha moment was we kept selling to like sort of smaller pharmacies, and then but the account that I really wanted to land was Sports Authority, again the late great Sports
Okay.
Authority,
Yep.
and it was Ken Hodge, sorry, John Hodge, super nice guy, buyer for Sports Authority, said yeah we'll give you a shot, and put us in some front end of and did well, and so he gave us data as to where it was doing well. And, we had most stores sell, 3 or 4 cans a week. But the stores in Colorado, Avon, Colorado, and Denver, Colorado, were
Yep.
selling, 30, 40 canisters a week.
Makes sense.
And so I went there and I talked to the store managers, like, hey, who's buying? It's like, oh, all the tourists coming up here to the altitude and they are buying the oxygen. So I'm like, huh. So
Hmm.
I walked around Vail for a couple of days, not to ski, it was off season, and just talked to a bunch of store owners. Like, hey, what do you think about these oxygen canisters? And a couple actually are still customers to this day. Charlie's Teas,
Wow.
Fred, yeah, and so this, yeah, look, we'll take it on as well. So we developed it in sort of Vail area, and then I hired a great rep, Elle Westfall, for the Colorado region, and she just took the bull by the horns and went to Utah, got to Montana, got all throughout the high altitude, New Mexico,
Sure. Yeah, it's a
Albuquerque,
slam dunk.
and now we're ubiquitous. I'm not sure if you've been out to Colorado, but we are like,
Yeah.
especially in the Rockies, we're in all the Walgreens, all the CVS's, Christie Sports, Dick's Sporting
Wow.
Goods. So yeah, so that became our base of
That
operation.
is so cool.
Yeah.
And so, I know the question they always ask on Shark Tank is like, do you have a patent? Did you have something that you were able to kind of block out competitors, or was it
Yes.
just the brand?
So we have a design patent on the mask, because no one
Okay.
actually had designed a mask to go on top of an aerosol canister, essentially.
So, what were
That
they
would work.
doing previously? What?
They had other actuation mechanisms that looked different.
Okay.
One you had to turn, another one you had to sort of press down. But everything was two-handed operation. And my view was
Okay.
like, well, it used to be a one-handed operation. So, just a little trigger like that, and
Yeah.
you press it and it comes out. Um,
Huh.
so,
Yeah.
if
Simple.
you're skiing, you keep it in your jacket, just breathe it in. So we used a designer that Mr. Minogue introduced me to, and designed the mask, and we cut a mold here in Bridgeport, Connecticut,
Huh.
and we were up and running.
That is so cool. I mean,
Yeah.
just talking about it now, this summary, it seems like kind of like smooth sailing. In those early parts, did you have like any hiccups or any
Oh,
kind of
yeah, like
second thoughts of like maybe this isn't working?
no, like in financing, like it's people ask the question of me about how'd you finance it and how'd you stay afloat. And coming out of the beer business, we had a little bit of money.
Mhm.
I wanted to hold on to that money. You have to live. You have a mortgage, you have a family, you have everything.
Yep.
So you keep it really small, and we really bootstrapped it.
Okay.
Really bootstrapped it, and but always maintain profitability. So yeah, it's like, listen, we can't lose money on this. We
Yeah.
can invest money and money will come back, but in terms of what you sell and what you make, and you have to
Hmm.
be cash positive because you can't live otherwise.
Sure.
So
And
that
how many,
yeah.
was it just you and one friend, or like how big was the
Yeah, so
operation?
Miss Aunt Steele, just two people, and
Really?
so Aunt Steele was she was a leftover from the beer business. I hired her in like the last 6 months that I was in business as an importer and distributor. And when I sold the business, she looked, oh God, like nervous as hell. Like, oh my God, what am I going to do now with my life? I like this check. I'm like, don't worry, Ann, you're going to work for me still. I mean, everyone else went to work for the beer distributorship or the other. So everyone found a home, but she did not find a home. So she stayed with me. And to this day, she's the facilities manager, and she helps with inventory, and she's the heart and soul of Boost Oxygen.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
That's such a great story. And so, did you guys take on other partners or equity partners, or is it just the
No,
two of you? And
well,
then,
no, it was by my friend Michael Minogue, who we agreed to
yeah,
over dinner, is still very much of an equity partner also,
okay,
with a minority stake. I have the majority stake,
gotcha,
over
gotcha.
50%. But then we gave Mr. Minogue, his father, a
Yeah,
percentage, which when he passed, gave it to his son, and then Kevin O'Leary got the 5%, and my COO, Mike Rice, also
okay,
became an equity holder. So
okay,
yeah, but no
gotcha.
outside investors, no private equity,
Oh,
no
it's like so nice and clean.
no credit card debt, no debt. Just we've been trying to do things the right way, slowly and surely,
Mhm.
and economically smart.
So, I mean, based on what you're telling me, it sounds like you were two for two. You tried the beer thing, you won, then you went into Boost, and obviously that is what it is now.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And so we've done great, and yeah, two for two. We didn't hit out of the park with the beer distributor. Then I would say I batted 350. Right, we did well,
Yeah. Yeah.
but not like I wasn't Glazer or some of these other big beer distributorships, Southern Wine and
Yeah.
Spirits. But the but no, we've done well. We've done well with the auction. We've
Yeah.
serviced a lot of people. We got great customers, super customers, and people who really understand the value of what we're trying to do.
Gotcha. And so for you, like your mindset, are you trying to take this as far as you can? Or, I mean, I see a lot of like kind of serial entrepreneurs, if you will, that say, hey, I got a great idea. I'm going to go all in for a year, 2 years, and then I want to get on to the next thing
Right.
and just repeat, repeat, repeat.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that's something that you want to do, or are you like in a comfort zone?
No, I'm in a comfort zone. I love the people here. I love our customers. I love the feedback that we get.
Mhm.
It's a great job when you come. You open up the reviews, and I do it every morning. I go on Amazon reviews and see, and people say really great things, like how it really helped them. I mean, we can't make medical claims, and we don't make medical claims,
Yeah,
but to see some of how people have used the oxygen, and the real benefit that it had for them, is super inspiring. I mean, you don't, maybe doctors get that same feeling if they save a life,
sure.
but that's kind of the same feeling I get, and which kind of makes life worth living.
Yeah, that's
It's a great vocation to have when you can say, hey, listen, I really touched the lives of a lot of people,
sure.
and
Yeah, and in so
it's
many
humbling.
different ways, from
Yeah,
athletics to someone with asthma or that just has a hangover.
right, right.
Do people ever, because I mean, it sounds like based on what you're saying that it gives you like a really good feeling, like you're renewed, you're re-energized. Do people ever start to feel almost like they're getting addicted to it, like they want to use it every day?
No, I wish they would.
No.
So,
Yeah, right. Like
no.
coffee.
Exactly, no. It's not narcotic. It's not addictive. It's not anything like that. It's just that if people who have a hard time breathing want to catch their breath, that's what it's for.
Yeah.
Although there are other uses for oxygen, like
Mhm.
cluster headaches, people use high pressure oxygen to help them with that, and other uses for respiratory issues that people use high pressure oxygen for. So yeah, but
Gotcha.
it's not addictive. It just helps you catch your breath. What I tell people, usually, I know if you're 100, like you have SpO2 levels, and if your SpO2 levels like 98, 99,
Yep.
you can't get your SpO2 level to 101. It's impossible. So the oxygen gets kicked out. It's just something that you
Gotcha.
use if you need it.
That's interesting. And so I know, especially going back to Shark Tank, lots of times they look for the next opportunity or like collaboration.
Yeah.
Have you looked at kind of like, is there another product or something that could kind of latch on to Boost?
Yeah, no, it's interesting because you always have ideas, right? And we're still executing. We've done really well in the altitude. We've got a lot of great customers there. We've done really well with sort of senior citizens who just want to go for a hike and they just want to have some respiratory assistance.
Yep.
But the sporting goods, we do well, but
Yep.
it hasn't become. Every single sidelines in the NFL has oxygen.
Sure.
But no sidelines in college or high school have oxygen, and or junior football or junior hockey. We're in a lot of NHL teams actually carry us because you can't have a big oxygen tank
Yep.
on that small
Yep.
little bench, so they keep us right in that little shelf.
Yep.
And they use us, and they get out of breath, and they use us, and they get back on the ice, and they feel great. But just translating professional usage of it to general athletic usage of it is what we're sort of concentrating on,
Gotcha.
and how to get people to understand that, hey, if Von Miller uses it for the Buffalo Bills, you
Yep.
can too. James Harrison was using it on the Super Bowl, and Troy Aikman used to use it, and all these
Yep.
other famous football players just to catch their breath, and
Sure.
it's a good thing. It can only help your performance.
Yeah, there's so many kind of benefits to it. Did you ever see the interview I did by chance with Boz Rutan?
I have not. No, sorry.
So, are you familiar with Boz? I don't know if
not really, but if you can jog my memory, maybe I would be.
He's a MMA legend. He was a UFC heavyweight champ. And then he went into like Hollywood and he did a number of movies and stuff. But in any event, I mean, he's a legend kind of in that sports space, and he grew up and he had really bad asthma as a kid. And one of the things he developed that he actually patented is called the O2 trainer.
Okay.
And it's like this, it's a very simple little thing. And it has like these clips that you put on it that like close the airway that you're going to blow into.
I've seen this.
So you just blow into this little device to work on your lung capacity.
Yep.
And then you could change the clips almost like you're changing like plates on a barbell,
right,
to make it harder and harder and just keep kind of building that up.
Right.
And he credits everything to it, like that training with that, got his win back.
Oh yeah, God bless. It's like a rigged spirometer. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but that's a great idea. And God bless them for
just
taking
things like that.
Yeah,
they just kind of seem like they almost kind of play off of each other, like different ways to kind of boost that O2 level that we all need.
Right. But curious though, maybe it's why I don't know about MMA and boxing. We're banned. People cannot use oxygen between rounds in MMA and boxing.
Okay.
Because I guess would consider it would be too much of an advantage.
Yeah, I remember Greg Hardy, the NFL player that went over to UFC. He actually got disqualified because he used an inhaler in between a round.
Right. Yeah.
And they gave him the boot.
Yeah, oxygen is similarly banned, which is weird because
I guess understandable.
But it's required to have oxygen at the bout. So if someone gets knocked out, they can get the oxygen. It's kind of funny. So you can't use during the competition, but you have to have it at every single bout.
Got it. It makes sense.
Yeah.
And so kind of like, stepping aside real quick, as the distribution of this really grew, I know you mentioned Amazon, that you like to go to Amazon, see the reviews and things. What, if you don't mind, what's kind of the split between Amazon and then being in a Dick's Sporting Goods or like actual retailers?
Yeah, a great question. I'll back up a little bit. We had a nice boost with Shark Tank. Our biggest boost, which we got crushed on, was COVID. COVID was a respiratory disease, a respiratory disease, and countries were literally running out of oxygen. India couldn't get oxygen. And so people would Google oxygen and they came up with our brand, like, oh, this could help. Again, we're not a medical product, but people bought the hell out of our product during COVID. And what we saw during that COVID time was, we were doing about 30% online, 70% brick and mortar. During COVID times, we were up to 55, 60% online. Because brick and mortar essentially shut down, but B, we went all the way up to, our direct website sales and Amazon and other, like Walmart.com. It was a 60% of our revenue. That's now gone down a little bit, about 40, 45%, as the brick and mortars have sort of come back, especially in the mountain areas. And we also signed on with Walgreens and Walmart and CVS, in addition to Dick's. So we've gotten more brick and mortars to sort of, and Academy Sports and Lowe's Home Goods. So we've gotten more distribution, brick and mortar wise. That's done really well. So that's kind of the percentage, right? It's about 40% online, 60% brick and mortar.
Gotcha. And do you have any preference? Like, is it more efficient or more profitable to go one route versus the other?
Yeah, it's much more efficient to go online.
I figured, yeah.
Because when you sell into a retail, you have a distributor markup, and then you have a brick and mortar markup, and all in that's 70-80%. Whereas Amazon fees are roughly 30. And so it's definitely more profitable. Amazon takes their phantom fees also, and a lot of the other online resellers also take their phantom fees. But it's business.
Gotcha. That's interesting. And when you hit the pandemic, because you were on the show in 2019, right? Yes, that timing is kind of crazy. And then just next year we have COVID. How did it hurt when you had that pop in business, or did you have like all systems ready to go that you could just scale with that?
No, we sold out. We sold out in like a week.
Oh my gosh!
And then we're trying to triage. And this actually, it was a great lesson for us, because we used contract manufacturers, and we had roughly 3 contract manufacturers during the time. And aerosol, there were aerosol manufacturing companies. They would do other things. And we went to them all and said, hey, we need 1 million cans tomorrow. And all of them basically said, well, we've got offers to fill disinfectants, aerosol disinfectants, because everyone wanted aerosol disinfectants. And Johnson & Johnson, Procter & Gamble were all going to these contract manufacturers because they couldn't handle their capacity. So we had a real hard time for a year getting product. We had one, thankfully, great guys down in Baltimore who really saved our bacon and manufactured as much as they could. But what it taught us, which is kind of interesting, we had to manufacture ourselves. And so we researched a couple of manufacturing companies that would put together aerosol filling equipment for us. And that was a very painful experience. But now we have 2 full manufacturing lines out here in Milford.
Wow.
And
so you're doing it all in-house now?
100% in-house, yeah.
Really?
High capacity aerosol filling machines that do nothing but oxygen. We have a big liquid oxygen tank out back, and it's been sort of, it was a major muscle movement, because I'm not an engineer, and finding someone who could build it, because oxygen is a very small molecule. So your typical aerosol valve needs to be really crimped well for it not to leak out. And to find a company that could manufacture machinery that could successfully do that for us was difficult. And then getting that machine to run reliably and fast, and with someone to service it, and it's been real. It's been really interesting. But on the other side of it, now that we are kind of on the other side of it, but we still have issues with production. I look at it, I have a big screen right here with all my production line, and things go down, and we have major orders right now going out to Walmart, and it's hectic again, which is fun. we're still growing.
Yeah.
We're still growing
Yeah.
at a great clip.
In those things, when you hit kind of like those day-to-day headaches or you get thrown a curveball, can you go back to the huge empire and resources of Shark Tank? Or was it more like, hey, I'm your mouthpiece, I'll go out, I'll do some commercials, but we're the marketing arm? Like, what does that kind of look like, that relationship?
That's exactly what it is. It's B. They're the marketing arm. Like,
Okay.
I've asked Kevin,
Okay.
hey, do you know people, other people in other industries? And he's been great, like, in terms of marketing. Hey,
Mhm.
use this company for your TV advertising. Use this company for your e-commerce marketing. Use this company for if you need to raise money, which we haven't.
Mhm.
So yeah, he's been good in terms of referencing other companies to help us with selling, in
Yeah.
addition to him selling. But no, in terms of running the business and finding an aerosol manufacturer, machine companies, they don't have the expertise doing that.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And so I guess kind of the next question is, what would be next for you? Do you ever think about that? Like kind of succession planning, downsizing, scaling? You hear so many different things, even for myself as a financial advisor to business owners, small or big. They're always kind of thinking about the future. Like,
Right.
what's that next big move? Some want to grow into these gigantic empires. Others want to simplify, and just kind of remove some stressors. Like, where are you right now, kind of in that?
That's a great question. I'm 57. I feel young. I'm energized every day coming into work. I know I'm not going to live forever, and what we would probably unless we get an offer that we can't refuse,
Yeah.
we'll be having this because it's profitable, great people. In terms of succession planning, I would I have 3 kids, and I don't think any of them are really interested in this business.
Really? Huh.
They've all worked here, and they
Okay.
all enjoy it, and they'll appreciate it. But they think they want to make their own mark, which I love them for, and I appreciate it, and they should.
Sure.
But we hire a CEO, we keep it, in a new CEO if that time would ever come for me to step down. And but that would be my succession plan, just finding someone, and maybe promoting somebody from the office here that seems
Yeah.
competent.
Find like a rising star.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So always,
Yeah.
but again, I'm not ready to give up the ghost yet.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's
So,
good.
but you never know, and it's a great plan. And in terms of succession planning, thankfully we've put enough money, to live comfortably. So it's not,
Mhm.
everyone here. I'm not worried about meeting payroll,
Yep.
and we've projected out 5 years, and
Okay.
best and worst case scenarios, and even the worst case scenario, we're fine. And like I said, I bootstrapped it for so long. We did
Mhm.
create a little bit of a nest egg, and
Gotcha. Sure.
it's nice to have that there, and for it to be growing, and
Yep.
if something were to befall me or befall the company, we could survive.
Gotcha.
But you say you always have to have a plan B, even a plan C,
Yeah, definitely.
and we definitely have that in place.
Yeah, and I see folks kind of like lead with like a different end goal. Now you hear so much about private equity.
Yeah.
You're seeing a lot in that space. Even you get locally, Jersey Mike's, now they're,
That's right.
entertaining massive, massive offers.
I know. Yeah.
It's crazy for
Yeah.
what's started as a sandwich shop.
Right. Not
But
in
and then
Jersey,
you have
by
a
the way.
lot of folks that, what's
Not
that?
in Jersey, right?
Yeah.
I read something about them where they didn't get started in Jersey because people in New Jersey appreciated their local deli, whereas outside of New Jersey,
Yeah.
but they're finally in New Jersey a little bit, but funny.
Yeah. Yep. And then you have, other people say we just want to try and go public at some point.
Right.
Do those things, do they appeal to you at all? Do you see any particular advantages there? Or would that be someday when you decide that succession plan, okay, maybe I'll throw that in as an option?
Yeah, no, the only, because I've got friends in private equity and venture capital, and
Mhm.
I talk to them, and they're, they're looking, and I shouldn't categorize them all into one ball, but they're looking for a deal. And if you're a successful company, you're not a deal. So what, that we wouldn't be appealing, I don't think, to a private equity company unless they saw some value in scaling us. Where I would see a company, a consumer product company like a J&J or a Procter & Gamble and say, hey, you know what, you guys are doing great, but if you come with us, we can scale you like you wouldn't believe. And that's something I would understand, because that would be great. That would be good for our customers, and that would be good for the people here.
Sure.
Just selling out to a private equity or venture capital just for cash to grow, I don't think would do a service to anyone. Our customers.
Yeah, it wouldn't make sense.
Right. But I could see other, if you're a software company, or if you're an e-commerce company, or if something that you really need a cash infusion for, that makes more sense, I think. But for a consumer product company, unless you're a fire sale, then maybe, or you're hit with some other malady that you need cash right away, that's when I think you'd go to private equity or venture capital. I don't know what your viewpoint is on that. Maybe that differs from your experience.
Yeah, no, I like what you're saying, because I feel just what you see so many people when they go to the private equity side, it is like the leading point, what they're discussing is the check.
Right.
And usually I find that, that can benefit maybe a few people, but if you're talking about a brand, or, this is your baby, I've seen that not always end so well.
Yeah.
Where I think what you mentioned, where, if you have someone that's more in line with your goals, like a J&J, that says, hey, we're going to keep this what it is, but it's just going to explode. Then that, to me, that seems more like a win-win, where then, it's financially beneficial, but also this thing that you created just gets to grow to the next level sometimes.
Right.
But to each their own. And I wanted to ask you too, because I know we mentioned in the intro, you guys are in over 50 countries. Are you really making an international push, or is it mostly here in the States? Like, what's that look like?
Yeah, no, the international push is more of the gravy. We're pushing in the United States. That's our home market, and we really feel we want to make our mark here. So we sell in the Middle East, we sell in Europe, we sell in Asia, and with varying degrees of success. We do very well in England. South Africa, we do well. We do very well in Dubai, curiously enough. And air quality related, usually. With the UK, I think it's more an aging population is where we're seeing it, in air quality. But it's just, again, and my friend Peter, who I mentioned before, in the Czech Republic, we have a warehouse there. And we sell on Amazon. We have a great distribution in Czech Republic and in Germany with Gehe and another company that does distribution through pharmacies. So there's a lot of room for growth. The Europeans tend to incorporate things a little bit less quickly than the Americans do, and which is great. It's a different philosophy over there, and we're definitely able to help out. We're selling now in the high altitude areas of France and Austria and Switzerland, and that's going great. And
it seems like almost any high altitude is like a layup.
right, which is where we should be. And we sell, we sell in Peru, we sell in, we don't sell in Tanzania yet. Tanzania with with Kilimanjaro. But we've been to the top. We've been to the top of Kilimanjaro. And we So we have customers bring it up there, which is fun.
That's on my to-do list too.
Yeah,
that's
I've never been, but yeah.
Yeah. So there's room for growth.
Yes, absolutely.
So one last question I want to ask you on the business. I know my listeners always like kind of seeing almost like underneath the hood. What is a day in the life like for you right now?
Oh gosh. So I get here around 8:30 in the morning, and first thing I do is walk the line, and then I walk the shipping department, and I talk to everyone there to see what the plan is for the day. Then I come to my office, and I usually deal with marketing, and then we have a sales call. Usually once a week. I'm dealing with salespeople all day, and then planning for the future. I was very involved with production. I'm pretty happy with the way it's going now, and I'm getting a little bit more involved in marketing now. much to the chagrin of my marketing managers. But it's customer service is always. I want to make sure that our customer service department is doing the right thing. And like I said, I read reviews pretty religiously every morning over breakfast. And it's it gives you an idea. And the review, I always feel the reviews will tell you what's going on with your business, because customers are telling you, are you doing a good job? Are you not doing a good job? Are you having problems with production, with quality control? How are they using it? Why are they using it? So I always, I tell people, look at our reviews, because that tells you who we are.
It's like instant feedback.
Right.
That is great.
So that's kind of my day, and then I like to play.
Gotcha.
Then I play tennis at night. So
okay, cool. That's what I wanted to ask you. Like, kind of balance wise, is it like when the company started to blow up? I don't know if there were struggles with that, or if you're like a very routine driven person, or if you're more spontaneous. Like, kind of what camp you fall in?
Yeah, no, unfortunately I'm more routine. People should say I should be more spontaneous, and it's maybe it's the measure of a small mind. When you have our routine based, but I do enjoy my routines for lunch, and my routines for dinner, my routines for playing. Like, my COO will come into town and like, hey, let's go out on a Tuesday night. It's like, I can't play Tuesday. I can't go out to dinner on Tuesday night because I'm playing tennis. So
gotcha.
I work out and stuff. But
and I like that you say tennis, and you're not in this huge craze of pickleball that seems to be taking tennis over.
I know. I played pickleball twice, and as long as they stay on their own courts and don't take our courts away, I'm okay with it. It's ping pong is a fun sport too. But I still enjoy tennis.
Yeah. Ping pong, I got to tell you, that was one of the coolest like sports I watched this year in the Olympics.
My gosh, yeah, it's crazy.
It is outrageous.
Yeah.
And there was not to sidetrack too much, but if you ever watch the nightly highlights with Kevin Hart and Keenan, they were hysterical. And when they would do the ping pong recap, I was like crying.
Oh gosh, those Japanese guys were awesome. I mean, but crazy.
It's pretty cool. So I think to kind of wrap up, Rob, one of my favorite segments, and I know our viewers and listeners love it, is the lightning round.
Sure.
So if that's okay with you, we'll just fire off some questions, get to know Rob Neuner, and you just tell us the first thing that comes to mind.
Okay.
So number one, did you have a hero growing up? And if so, who was it?
My dad.
Perfect. And do you have a favorite book?
Currently reading Daisy Jones and the Six. My favorite book was probably the Pillars of the Earth.
Pillars of the Earth.
By Ken Follett.
Yep. Yeah, I haven't read it. That's on the list.
Yeah.
And my wife actually just read and watched the Daisy Jones one.
Okay.
I like the book more than the show, though.
Okay, yeah, the book's interesting. It's kind of fun. It's written in a different style.
Yeah. And do you have a favorite movie?
Godfather.
Oh, I love it. Yeah. I think I actually have that somewhere back here.
Yep. Like, I can't,
right over my head.
If it's ever on TV, and I'm done. I got to watch it. Yep. It's great.
I'm the same way. That's like 4 hours that just goes away.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah. And do you have a quote that you live by?
If you don't have a plan, you have a plan to fail.
Well said.
Yep.
And I know you've been to Prague, as I have, and done some travel. Do you have a favorite vacation or destination?
Oh boy. I've been blessed to go a bunch of different places, and like I said, we have a place now in Long Beach Island, which I love. But I think Bermuda. My wife and I went there on our honeymoon, and we've been back multiple times, and I just love the island.
Yeah, I agree. We did our honeymoon in Hawaii, but I always say Hawaii is probably 1A and Bermuda is 1B.
Yeah, no, it's really it's a special place. Yeah,
beautiful. And so this whole show began as a finance show, so I'd be remiss if I didn't ask, what was your best investment, money or otherwise?
Personal or with a business?
Up to you. Whatever pops into your mind.
Best investment. Actually was it was a real estate investment in Breckenridge. I bought a house. We turned into like a VRBO, and
cool.
And we bought it before COVID and everything. So in terms of return there, both on a residual basis with the income coming in from the rental of the house to what the house is worth.
Sure.
That's been a good investment.
Yeah, good timing.
Yeah.
And on
A
the
lucky
flip
timing.
side
I
of
like
the
it.
coin,
Sorry.
yeah, the flip side, any worst investment that comes to mind?
Worst investment, right? Well, it's not done yet, but I invested in Lucid, the Lucid Air,
Okay.
and
Okay.
I thought it bottomed out, but it bottomed out even further. So, and
Yeah,
I
well,
love the company, I love the concept, I love the car, and I really believe in it. But so far, it's been my worst investment.
oh man, is that what you drive?
Yeah,
You
yeah,
do? Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. They are cool
Yeah,
cars.
I love it. I
You know,
love it.
yeah.
And someone said, I read an article that said, you'd much be better off buying $100,000 in Tesla stock than a $100,000 Tesla when it first came out.
Yes. Yep.
And so Lucid's out. I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm going to take that advice and I'm going to invest in Lucid. But I'm also going to buy the car because I want to see what how they're doing with the
Yep.
company. And they've done great things as a company, and the car is awesome. And
Hmm.
they're coming out with an SUV. I think will maybe change its fortunes a little bit. And they're
Okay.
backed by the Saudis, so I knew they weren't going to go
Yep.
out of business. So
Yeah. Deep
yeah,
pockets.
yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
But
A couple years ago, I got the EV6,
oh yeah,
and I'm hooked. Like I love, the whole kind of EV game is it's awesome.
right. But
But we'll see.
Lucid came out with the at the S-Pac. They're at $60 a share at their IPO. And now I think they're at
Okay.
$3.
Ooh.
I know, right? So,
Oh man.
yeah,
That's
I didn't get it at 60. I got it a little lower, but yeah.
yeah. Yeah, that'll test your stomach. And then if you could change one thing about the world today, what would it be?
Negative discourse. Yeah,
I agree.
I think that the social media and the negative discourse that goes on is just insidious and evil.
Hmm.
And it's unnecessary. It's just I think if people would just engage in positive discourse, the world would be a much better place.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Rob. This was super informative. I think there's a lot of takeaways here. You gave us a lot to chew on just in kind of your story here. So I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, I appreciate you. You're great. Thanks for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure. And just to close, where can folks find you if they want to learn more about your story and your experiences?
Oh boy, what's boostoxygen.com is our and my bio's on there as well, and a lot of
Hmm.
stories there. But yeah, but we're sold at Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Sticks, Lowe's, Academy, Dunham's,
Yep.
Big Five, and a lot of, and by really individual retailers like small individual pharmacies, ski shops, Christie Sports. Support your local retailer.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, everyone, thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Kuderna Podcast. Be sure to go out and try a can of Boost Oxygen if you haven't. I know I want to, next time I have a hard workout, I want to give it a shot, see how it feels. And Rob, thanks again for making some time for us.